Welcome, entrepreneurs. This morning, we're going to have a good time. This is our mastermind meeting. Are you guys excited? Yes?
Yeah. Woo-woo.
Yes, mastermind. I love the theme for today, how to master the mastermind. Oh my goodness, Randy is so creative. That is so exciting. And so I want to make sure that we have at this time, we'll entertain our educational moment. Is Charles Radney, are you here?
I'm here, but in respecting our challenge time, let's move through the meeting and we'll do a mastermind at the next session. We'll do a emotional meeting at the next session.
We appreciate your moment. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Well, what I was going to do is, for those of you who are aware of the challenges we had in the stock market on Monday because of the shiny object, which was the new AI, which came onto the market, I used that to come up with our educational moment for this morning. And what it basically came up with was resilience. And it talked about the importance of being resilient. It came up with a minute and a half of talking about how, as entrepreneurs, we always have to be resilient and understand there's always going to be challenges for us. And it said that when we're on one path and something gets in our way, we need to be resilient and understand that there's always another way to look at things and to look at other ways of approaching things and dealing with things. And I thought that was quite interesting for the quote unquote new kid on the block from the AI segment to come up with another approach for things we'd already approached and looked at, to show there's some commonality in the overall quote unquote universe, if you will, on how to look at how we deal with issues as entrepreneurs and people. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster, or Melinda.
Thank you for that awesome reminder of how we, especially as entrepreneurs, that's a good word, Charles. We need to be resilient. And so we're being resilient this morning and recognizing what we need to do. Take care of business. I want to make sure we get started this morning. Our Toastmaster today is a phenomenal woman. It's the woman, she has held all leadership roles that you can think of on the district level, even beyond. We're so excited this morning that the amazing, awesome Roz Carter is our Toastmaster. Roz, take it away. Show her some love, everybody. Come on,
All
show her some
right, all
love.
right, all right.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have an excellent meeting. How to master the mastermind. And Randy Powell is the master who will take us through this program. And I think that everyone here, even though it's not all of our members, we have an opportunity to listen, learn, and grow from that. So here we go with his introduction. Randy Powell offers a unique blend of scientific insight and practical strategies and personalized coaching to help individuals and organizations break through the barriers and achieve unprecedented success. With decades of experience in overcoming adversity and a proven track record of transforming lives, Randy is dedicated to adding unprecedented value to the lives of individuals who want to create greater opportunities for themselves and those they care about. Whether you're a business leader seeking to scale your company, an individual striving for personal growth, and an organization aiming to cultivate a culture of success. Randy's Envision Success Coaching programs provide the blueprint for breaking through limitations and achieving extraordinary results. Don't just envision success. With Randy's guidance, you can live it. So join us as he leads us through how to master the mastermind. Welcome, Randy Powell.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, everybody. I think I lost Charles and Bond. They'll probably come back. I want to say good morning and gracious are we. We are happy to be here each and every day. I know that we have a limited amount of time. It sounds like we can make up for a little bit of that by closing out and coming back. So the first thing I want to do is challenge you. And I'm glad that Charles mentioned the word resilience. And here's why I'm very happy that he mentioned the word resilience. And April, you need to smile a little bit more. I don't know what's going on over there, but she's looking very serious. Is she able to hear us? April, you able to hear us? Okay. All right. Resilience. I'm happy that he mentioned that word for a number of reasons, and I'll spill them out to you real quick. But the main reason is because our last live event that I hosted at the Hampton Inn this past Friday on the 24th of this month was titled The Resilient Entrepreneur. And out of that, we came up with some pretty interesting words that are action words that if we instill these words in ourselves, it will make a world of difference. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've been in business for the past 2 years, let's say, and you're not doing better in business than you were the year before, then that's a problem. That's a challenge. That's a business challenge. And in fact, that's a big business challenge. And what do I mean by doing better? I mean, however you measure your success, however you define it and measure it for yourself, it could be personal, it could be publicized, it could be in the numbers, it could be in terms of growth. But however you measure your success, the only person that you can hide your success and whether or not you're successful is from yourself. Now, what do I mean by that? Oftentimes, we put on a facade for people. We put a facade on for other people that we're better than we are, doing better than we are. We're smiling and we're happy-go-lucky. And the background, we're really not doing that well. And we're doing ourselves a disservice, not only personally and professionally, but in our business. So the question I would have is, yes, we have to be resilient entrepreneurs. And if you're not doing better than you were the year before and you don't have any solid plans to become better, then that's your biggest and greatest business challenge. Let me share these few words with you real quick that came out of that live event. Relevant. Relevant is a word that you must pay attention to if you expect to excel in business. You have to stay relevant in whatever space you operate in. And that means not only relevant to yourself, that means relevant to the mission of your organization or your company, what you're trying to do. So that means staying current as well. The next word is shortcuts. And I've said this for many years, there are no shortcuts to success. Every single person who has ever accounted for themselves by any means and the world sees them as successful did not most of the time see them in the background during the times of struggle and difficulty and those kinds of things. And I use a simple example of Michael Jordan playing basketball by himself in the alley with a very small light, shooting hoops on a basket that didn't even have but a broken down chain for the instead of the what we call in modern day the lace. He didn't even have lace. In the old playgrounds in the cities, typically you had chains. Why? Because they didn't want you to take the lace and take it off and go put it somewhere else. So there are no shortcuts to success. That's word number two. Word number three is clarity. If you don't have clarity of purpose for your own personal life and your business, that is a challenge. So we're constantly should be seeking to upgrade and stay clear in terms of what it is we're trying to accomplish. The next word is courage. It takes courage to be successful. I'll leave that at that. You can define courage for yourself. We all have our own perspective about courage. And then the last word that came out of that was act. We have to take action, short for action. We have to act, and we have to act not only quickly at times, but we have to be decisive. In other words, we have to grab as much information, but there's a point in time when we have to make decisions. So I'm glad that he brought up the word resilience because all of those words apply to making yourself and helping yourself become a more resilient entrepreneur. Okay, any questions about that? We've laid the groundwork from the standpoint of jumping off of what Charles had to say about resilience. So how do you master the mastermind? It's not just how do you master the mastermind, it's how do you master the mastermind, and I left this part off purposely, and benefit all attendees. Now you can, in this space, you can call it attendees, you can call it members, whatever it is, whoever you're meeting with as a group, then that is who you should be paying attention to and making sure that we benefit all attendees. So what is a mastermind? If you look at the textbook, a group of two or more people, most often like-minded people who collaborate and share their collective knowledge. Okay, we all know what a definition, or at least our perception of the definition of what a mastermind is. But to go further and actually master having a mastermind, that means you have to have a methodology for running the mastermind. So again, that all people benefit, that you actually get something out of it. So when that session is over, you have something either in your head or something tangible that you've written down, some notes you've written down, something that you can actually take away and act on and create the courage to do, and so forth and so on. So I would question whether or not in a very short period of time, and I'll be bold and go out and make a bold statement, unless you're dedicating typically an entire hour or 45, 50 minutes to a dedicated mastermind, you're doing yourself a disservice. Now, I'm going out on the limb and saying that because it takes effort to run an effective mastermind. It's not a joke. You're really actually focusing on business challenges. Let me say that again. Focusing on business challenges, especially in a Toastmaster environment like you guys have decided you want to do. So what does that mean? That means you really have to come in front of us, and that means you have to have a place of trust and openness so that people, instead of hiding behind the sheets, will actually bring a true challenge that they're struggling with and actually lay their cards on the table and share that. So if I could share the screen real quick, I'm going to quickly go through a presentation that's very, very short. So you're going to have to grab onto your coattail. Do I have sharing capabilities?
Yes, you do.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. And don't laugh at my screen because I know it's junky right now. We're going to jump into this really quick because I think it's important that we all actually remind ourselves about the basics of a mastermind. So mastering the group mastermind, basically, let me go back real quick. We're unlocking the idea of a mastermind is to unlock the power of the collective wisdom and support and gather support of that group. That's why collaborating and being open and so forth is so effective and so important. And I have personally witnessed people move to the next level over a series of shortened periods of time. And I'm a part of a larger mastermind where even greater strides are being made. So what does that mean, Randy? Well, a mastermind group, obviously, it's a small, tightly knit group of individuals who meet regularly, share their ideas, and we already talked about that. But here's the thing, sharing unique perspectives and experiences and putting that on the table so that people can see and feel and hear what it sounds like when people are really challenged in the business world. Okay, the next step to that is the benefits. And I'm only going to go through a few benefits right now. On the second half of this, I'm going to get into some real deep benefits, but accelerated growth, expanded perspective, and enhanced support. I don't need to go in deep, but if you're not growing, if your perspective in business is not challenged and broadened, and if you're not getting the support internally inside the mastermind, if we're not supporting each other and helping each other actively, asking, how can I serve you? What can I do for you? Then we are doing ourselves and the group a disservice. Whether you believe that or not, I've witnessed that. Okay, so establishing some ground rules. Obviously, you got to have ground rules. You got to have some really seeking individuals, have complementary skills or not complementary skills, because in the outside world, not in Toastmasters, but in the outside world, you have a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. And then clearly articulate the group's goals and objectives. And then setting the tone. You got to have that trust that I talked about, or people won't open up. So people have to become vulnerable. They have to show empathy, and they have to be very, very, very private and respectful. And so that's how you maximize that whole process of getting people to really get to a place where they're comfortable in sharing. So, structured agenda, active listening. It's been said many times that the person who listens and says the least and observes is probably one of the smartest people in the room. And then giving constructive feedback. So the last part of that is making sure that we hold each other accountable. If you're not held accountable for what you say you're going to do and what you expect to accomplish and those kinds of things, distractions happen. Whenever there's intention, disruption and distraction always shows up. So if you have an intention to do something great, you can believe that distraction and disruption is going to show up. So you got to have those goals. You've got to track your progress, and you got to celebrate your wins. And I don't mean the big wins. I mean, when you accomplish something, you want to celebrate that. And how do you sustain that? By having regular meetings, by having open communication, and continually making sure that people are actually growing. So that's the end of that share that I wanted to share with you. And I hope that makes sense to you. I know that was very, very fast, but that's okay. You guys are sharp, you're fast, and I know you grabbed a hold of it. So now let's talk about the type of business challenges that I would say would attract people. First of all, if we're focusing on growth, accelerated growth, and expanding our perspectives and actually supporting our members, when someone comes up with a business challenge and you have walked that path before, then it's time to open up and give some feedback on helping that person. I have personally witnessed a lot of business being conducted. In fact, in my last mastermind, there was a person, and I won't mention any names, who was interested in doing something. And his story, he had just lost his wife, and she had fought this rare heart disease for 5 years. And we knew it was coming. It's been a rough 5 years for him and his family. And he showed up at the mastermind meeting. And it just so happens most of the mastermind meeting was settled around the discussion of what he went through. And it turned out to be a great business learning because we showed empathy. We understood the business aspect of what he was going through in terms of maintaining his business while he was going through this horrible situation with his wife. Again, he said, she always wanted to put a smile on people's face, and he said this was a hallmark event. And if her last dying wish would be if she could take her story and make a hallmark movie out of it, she would feel like her life was meant for something grand. And there was another woman who I didn't even know in the mastermind, and she said to him, she called his name, and she said, I have my best friend is a operations and director for Hallmark, and I would be happy to introduce you. We have lunch often, and I would be happy to introduce you. So right there, everyone went, holy Moses. So here's a guy who came in after living this tragedy, and the mastermind brought him right to his wife's dream. That's the kind of power of a mastermind. When you have and two or three people, yes, you can have a mastermind with two or three people, but you really want more than that. And if you're going to attract people to this club and you're going to say that, hey, we've got a mastermind, then you really got to consider serving them from the perspective of a mastermind. So that's an example of the power of a mastermind, because that lady's movie is probably in the works already. So if you do these things, the benefits are accountability, networking, real brainstorming, because you're peeling back the onion. So you're really identifying and sharing innovative ideas with people and giving honest feedback that will help people, not hurt them. And then you gain some different perspectives of things that you had no idea about. And part of that is making sure that in order to keep members relevant, that you have education that serves the entire group. So part of having a mastermind, it might be bringing guest speakers in that can share a perspective on business. But really, each and every one of you, if you haven't shared a real business problem or challenge yet, and maybe you all have, but it's been my observation, and I haven't been to a lot of these meetings, okay? But as an outsider, I'll call myself an outsider. The few times I've attended, there have been a couple of times when somebody could kind of quasi call it a business challenge. Most of the time, you guys fall back into, I hate to say this, you fall back into having a regular Toastmaster meeting. And that's not serving you from a mastermind perspective as well as it could be. Some examples of real life entrepreneurial challenges. How are you scaling your business operations? If somebody's having a challenge and they're not growing, then that's a scaling problem. Maybe they're not ready to scale. But if you're having scaling problems, you're not growing in numbers, you're not growing in sales, you're not growing in some specific area of business. Well, maybe if you bring that challenge to us, then we can help you and brainstorm and give you some ideas. These are the top 4 areas: scaling for entrepreneurs, time management. Nobody likes to say they got they don't want to really realize how much time they're wasting in their life, let alone in business. But if you're honest with yourself, you can probably pick up an hour or two a day that you're not being effective. And everyone has the same amount of time. So when we question how is somebody getting so much done and then other people are not getting as much done, it's because they have mastered time management and then improved public speaking. You don't have to be trying to be a public speaker or a paid professional speaker. If you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or you run a business, you have to be able to communicate your mission, your vision, what your benefits are, how you serve your customers. You have to be able to communicate all of that in a way that really resonates with your clients, your customers, etc. You have to be able to communicate in terms of training people who work for you so that they treat people well. I can tell you, I can walk into a restaurant as an example and be greeted, and I can tell you within 30 seconds if it's going to be a good experience or a poor experience, just by the person at the front gate. In other words, front of the house. Well, think about your own business. Who answers your phone? Who's the first person they see? So these are some of the entrepreneurial things that we're challenged with. In addition to public speaking, networking has always had a bad name. But networking and building strategic partnerships is extremely important in business. But when most people think of networking who've been around a while, they're turned off. And they're turned off because people would go to a networking event and see these little cards, and all they would do is walk around and push them in your face. They didn't ask you who you were, what you were passionate about, strike up a conversation with you unless you took their business card and you somehow got lucky and it worked out. But most of the time it's just pushing business cards. That's not real networking. That's not relationship marketing. That's not relationship building. So building strategic partners is intentional. And when it comes to networking, think about the next time you go and you network, whether it's a small group or a networking event, think about how you could change that. Instead of asking, the worst question you can ask somebody in a networking event is, what do they do? Can I get a witness? Worst question you can ask them is, what do they do? It's a horrible question. Maybe a different question could be something about, so what are you passionate about? What do you do in your spare time? Something other than, well, what do you do? Why do people ask this question? Can anybody tell me? Melinda, do you know why people ask that question at a networking event?
Sometimes it's because, well, let me just get real. Sometimes they're a little nosy.
Anybody else got a thought? Why do some
Okay.
people, Frankie, anybody? I'm going to share with you the exact reason why, but you, anybody got a thought?
That's what they've been told to ask.
Okay, but that's saying that's what they've been told. But is that what you're saying? That's why? Because they've been programmed that way?
to a large degree, because
Okay.
They-
If you
they-
if you leave here today and you ask somebody that question ever again, my little bad guy's gonna come up and slap you.
They want to gauge where you are, what you do, to
Thank you.
see
Amen.
where
You can
you are.
tell.
Yeah,
Thank
like
you. You can
yeah.
tell she's a client. Okay. Because they want to measure
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
and see if you can do anything for them or not. That they're looking to see, okay, where do I fall? So for example, if I'm in a networking event with Dr. Diane Piella and I walk up to Diane and I say, what do you do? And she says, well, I'm a physician, I'm a retired physician. Where does that put me on the scale? Okay, or where do I, better yet, what damage do I do to myself? I probably put myself under here because in my mind, my training, my experience, my background, the society has said that doctors are up here. When in fact she puts on, if she wears pants, she puts on her pants the same way as I do. So every one of us needs to pay attention to that and not be setting ourselves up for a problem. Because smart people know when you ask that question, and most of them who are really smart won't have anything to do with you. And you just shut the door on any building any kind of business relationship or trying to strategize on how you can become a partner. They don't want anything to do with you. They don't have time for those kind of games or wasting time. So I'm sharing with you how to stop wasting time and how to maximize this particular mastermind. And each and every one of you has the skills and ability to run a mastermind. All you have to do is go in. So how hard is it to really have a short mastermind where somebody comes, shares a real business challenge, you get in, you tackle that challenge, you help them out, you add value to them, and you add value to the group as well because you're listening and learning, and then you exit out of the meeting. So it's really not that difficult to do. So one of the things that we do in my mastermind is we always check in the beginning of the mastermind and ask people what have they been up to for the last couple of weeks, because we meet every 2 weeks, the first and third Tuesdays of the month. In addition to that, the next step is to ask is, does anybody have a hot seat that they need? In other words, a business challenge. It could be personal in our mastermind because we run both. It could be business focused. But we look to see if somebody's having a hard time, if somebody's having a roadblock, whether it's mental block, whether it's physical block, whether it's a business challenge, we want to get them to work through that challenge as quickly as possible. And then the next thing we do typically, and I'm not looking at my agenda, but the next thing we typically do is make sure that we have an educational moment and not just 1 minute of a moment. We're really talking about teaching or sharing. And from time to time, we will have someone in the mastermind do the same thing. They will speak to whatever topic or challenge or something they want us to know about. For example, Dr. Lawana Parker took time to teach us about TikTok. She's also had guest speakers come on. And so my point there is you need to have all of these components lined up so that you can really go through them. And that's how you master the mastermind. Does that make any sense? And so far, does anybody have any questions? Because I've really thrown out a lot of stuff there.
Randy, this is Roz. How do you get people to interact and want to be a part of a brainstorming session? Do they have to be in tune with the subject matter, or can they just jump in?
Everybody has value, number one, and that's part of building the mastermind and understanding. The basic building blocks is privacy, confidentiality, having empathy, showing empathy, trust. So when you add all that together and people know that if they open up and say something here or bring their vulnerability into the light, it's not going to be repeated outside the club or outside the mastermind meeting, right? So we're all adults here. If we protect ourselves and our confidentiality, then people will open up. They'll be more willing to brainstorm. But you don't have, everybody has value. Everyone has a perspective. Everyone knows someone who's gone through something. So you chime in on all of that experience in your life. And if you have something, even if it's not directly related to the topic, you may have a perspective that shines a light for some reason. And you go, oh, I didn't think about that. So the idea of brainstorming is so powerful because we all walk a different path. and we all know different people. And so you may be talking about something I'm not an expert in, but I may have one thing that happened to me in business somewhere or from the corporate world when I was in the corporate world that I might be able to go, you know what, that reminds me of a time where this happened. It's not directly related to that business, but yet maybe you could use that in this challenge or in this problem to help out a little bit. So don't think of it as you don't have the experience and the knowledge and the skill set and all that. You got to go into this going, we're going to give everything we've got so that we can help each other out. The other thing is I would gather, I should say gather, I would guess, and you don't have everybody here, but I would guess that you guys have not supported each other in your business. In other words, I would guess that, and tell me if I'm wrong. For example, how many people have used Charles Radney in business yet? How many people have used Bon Wang in business and had a relationship where they need something done and they've asked Bond and they've paid Bond what he's due and what he charges out in the marketplace to perform his skills and his gifts and so forth. How many people have gone to April and said, April, I've got this challenge. I think I understand what you do. Can you explain more to me? We do that all the time in our mastermind, and in not in, just in my mastermind, but in our bigger mastermind. And I tell you, it works. It works because people collaborate, they do business with each other. And I got to tell you, in a very large mastermind, it won't be long before if you don't deliver what you say you're going to deliver, that other people go, they may not talk bad about you, but they'll go. And I had that happen once. I had a gentleman who I was thinking about using as a CPA, and he's from back east. And I asked a gentleman in Texas, somebody else I know who's in the mastermind. I said, "Hey, you used him. What do you think?" He's like, "I didn't really." He didn't say anything bad about it. He said, "I didn't really get the service I was looking at." So what did that do? That let me know, because if people are not getting the service and they're open enough inside the mastermind to tell you I got it or I didn't, then it sure saves a lot of time. It's like vetting, it's like going on Fiverr and vetting different designers. You can spend a lot of time out on Fiverr vetting people, or you can go somewhere where you have a trusted group of people and say, "Hey, have you ever used this person for X?" And they say, "Oh, yeah, wonderful." Bam, now you know. So there's a lot of different ways to use a mastermind, but those are powerful ways to use a mastermind, and it works. So I don't need to know if you guys have used each other. I'm putting that out there as an example of what other masterminds do. And so, charity starts at home. I'm just saying, some of you young people may not have never heard that, but charity starts at home. So if you have a home group and you know somebody's in business and you can give them your business, why not give them your business first? And if they don't perform, you go, I didn't get really what I wanted, so now I'm going to go outside the group. That's just one perspective, one way of thinking about the mastermind. But
Well, I would like to suggest in the early days of this club, we used to start off by asking everyone to give a 1 minute spiel of what their business is. And that way everybody knew what they were all about. And I think we should revisit that and take those 10, 15 minutes at the start of a meeting, and everybody gives a 30-second or 45-second comment about, hi, I'm Randy Powell. I have a business called Envision Success, and I do mastermind and anything else you do within those 45 seconds. And then Frankie says what she needs to say, and Melinda says what she needs to say. And we all came into this club either with a business or wanting to start a business, and we're not serving each other. Some of the people that I miss in this meeting is like Mariatu and Kama and other people who have something to offer, but they miss out on meetings and they might be busy. But if we had something in the club that invited them to speak about that, then we might get more attendance.
I got to tell you that we all claim to be busy. I'm busy too. We all claim the same claim. But if you see the value, here's the key. If you really need it, want it, and see the value, you're going to make time. I mean, it's just the way it is. You've got to have a set of priorities. And if the value is here, they're going to show up. The challenge is, and even in Toastmasters in general, Toastmasters clubs have generally a bad habit of expressing and showing value. People get to a certain point and they're like, I got all I can get and I'm gone. And so you lose people. You have to continually market, but marketing is not just it. When they show up, you have to give value. And if you can't articulate the value when they come in and give them what you said you're going to give them, they're not going to say anything mean or bad. They're just going to fade away because everybody can claim they're busy. But the question is, busy or being busy being highly productive. There's a big difference between I'm busy or I'm busy being
Yeah,
highly
and you know
productive.
what? There's 3 people that I'm trying to get to join this club, and they've been a guest, I think, just once, but they haven't come back. And their reason or excuse is, "Oh, I was too busy," and I don't want to turn that person off. But at the same time, I remember when Gina was saying, I'm going to attend. And she couldn't attend one time, but then she came and then she joined. And then it's like sometimes that's all it takes is one meeting for you to be turned around and want to be invited back or to join and say something. You got to
Yeah.
say something to feel like you're involved,
Yeah,
right?
you do. You absolutely have to. And part of the mastermind is you require participation. If you don't get it, whoever's leading the mastermind, then you have to generate that participation. You have to call on people, ask them their perspective. You notice I said I referred back to Charles. That's a callback. Did that in the very beginning about the resilience. Yes, I got in there that we had just covered that at one of my live events, which was not the issue. The issue was the word resilience popped in my head when he said that. I'm like, we just had that conversation. I called on Frankie. So you have to involve people to get them to participate. But part of the whole busy thing, when you hear someone say they're busy, first of all, when you hear somebody say, if they say anything other than yes or no, what that means is they haven't decided yet. Why haven't they decided? They haven't decided because different people make the decisions at different intervals, right? Some people need more information. Some people say they got to check with their spouse or their better half. Some people, all that stuff. So when somebody says I'm busy, it means one or two things. They believe they really are too busy, or they don't see the value in what you're offering. It's no
Mhm.
different than when you make an offer to somebody for services. Okay. I don't like the word sales. Sales is okay. You have to sell in order to be in business, or you're going to be out of business, right? So selling is a part of business. Any entrepreneur, solopreneur, anybody in business doesn't like selling, then there's a problem. You have to get over that. So I call it making an offer. If your offer has value, then and the person wants it and needs it and believes you can help them get what they want or get the service they're looking for, they probably take a chance on you. There's other factors involved as well. But when it comes to someone saying cost as an example versus investment, the mindset is that we have been trained, like Charles says, to think about cost. What's it going to cost me? What's it going to cost if I do this? The reason that happens is because we haven't been served properly before. So we think of it as a cost because what am I going to pay for that I'm not going to get? When we change the mindset and we think about, is this a good investment in business? We ought to be thinking about, is this a good investment? And if we think it's a good investment, then we will invest because the cost of not investing is going to be much more than taking a chance and investing and seeing if you get the service you're looking for based on you making a decision because you see the potential value. But the cost of not doing it. I have a client that lost $1 million in sales in the last year. They went from 9 million or 8.5 million to losing $1 million this year. And I knew it was going to happen But here's the deal. They know now because we raised the red flag. We discussed why it happened. And some of it they know. They hired 2 salespeople. Well, guess what? If you hire 2 salespeople in the same year, you expect your sales are going to increase, right? But what happens if your sales don't increase? You invested in salespeople, but your sales didn't increase. So now you got to peel back the onion and find out what's going on. So it's no different. You invest. If there's no payback, you got to figure out quickly what's wrong. And that's the same thing in our businesses as well. But if we think of everything as a cost, we're never going to invest in ourselves. That's what holds a lot of people back. I see people investing $10, $20, $30,000 in programs and masterminds. Some of them get what they are looking for, and some of them don't. And some of them have told me I spent, X number of dollars. It hurts my heart because I know sometimes they shouldn't be doing it, but it's not my business to say anything. And then 6 months, a year later, they're like, it's not, it didn't work. And you look at them, and some people will actually take money out of their retirement, believe it or not. And that is a big no-no. So you really have to be doing something grand if you're going to do something like that. You have to budget for training and all that, investing in your growth. But I've seen people take big money out and not get the value, and it hurts my heart. And some of my constituents, we've talked about it a lot. Okay. Some people say, you need to raise your price, you need to raise prices. My goal is working with people who can't necessarily afford to invest $20,000, $30,000 and helping them get where they want to go. So the mastermind is an avenue for doing just that if you master the mastermind. And I'm going to leave it at that. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask. And I know we're on a limited amount of time.
I want to see us change saying pay your dues to invest in you. Use the word invest.
It's a ninja mindset. It really is a ninja mindset. We have to change the way we see things and the way we think about things. I mean, you look at Frankie Jones, she's run a big business, what I would call multi-location business, and she's still burning and churning and loving and enjoying it, okay? And to get where she is, you have to invest in yourself. And I'm not here to promote my mastermind. My mastermind will grow as it's supposed to grow. But I'm a part of a larger mastermind, and it took me a while to invest at that level. I'm not going to kid you. It took me a long time to invest at the level that I'm investing in with this mastermind. And I'm not nowhere near the high level of 25,000 a year. That's every year, But I see and I get to be around people who are investing at that level. And so a lot of it has to do with who you're hanging around too, the company you keep. It just does. If you hang around people that, you all know this, but I love going and having adult beverage, don't get me wrong. But if I hang around the bar every night at some bar, sports bar every night, I'm probably going to end up not doing much with my life. Okay. Because the people hanging at the bar every single night of the week are probably not joining masterminds and growing themselves and all of that. The people who go there may have a dinner and a drink and go home. Those are entrepreneurs and business owners. So you have to think about the company you keep. And are you being inspired to take action, thoughtful action, smart action? Because you could sit around and have all the information in the world and never make a decision. And that's the same as, no decision is still a decision. That's right. Frankie knows no decision is still a decision. So there's no escaping it. And most people will tell you they want to do something bigger than themselves. They have a dream, but fear and I'm not good enough. I don't stack up. Everybody's telling them they're living with their gremlins instead of taming their gremlins. They've got all these issues. And unless somebody ruffles the feathers and says, shakes them up, and my job is shaking people up. and inspiring people and getting people to face reality. And I don't know how much time I got. No, nobody does. Your most precious asset is your time. If you don't value your time, nobody else will, I promise. And in my latest book, I even talk about nobody's coming to save us. We are responsible for our own self and our lives and where we end up. People care to a certain point, and then that's that. And you just have to shape up or ship out and understand that. People will love you, but they can only go with you so far. And if you're a complainer and a Debbie Downer and all that stuff, nobody has time for that. And the older we get, the more we realize our time is valuable. So now we want to be around people who are actually like-minded, who are filling their dreams and pumping us up, and we're filling, helping them fill their dreams, and we're pumping them up, and we're collaborating and working together and really trying to help each other be the best of themselves that they can be, the best version of themselves. Yes, ma'am.
Roz and Randy, I'd like for each one of us to make a 1 or 2 minute comment about what is our takeaway from this session today. Can we do that, please? Each member online, just share 1 minute. What is your takeaway from this mastermind today?
Okay, I'll go first. My takeaway from Randy's mastermind session is I have to be accountable to myself. I have to invest in myself, and I have to want to be clear on what I expect, what I want, and what I value.
Thank you. Georgina.
I got a little history from Roz about the introducing your business, so I think that was more my takeaway. It's like, oh, we could do that.
Yeah, we need to go back doing that. I think that's a great idea. We need to reinstitute that.
Yeah, we used to do that at every meeting, probably the first 3 months of our club, so that
Yeah,
everybody could say something.
yes, I think we need to reinstate that, doing that. Gives us more energy in the membership attending. Okay, April, what do you say?
One of my many takeaways was education that serves the entire group. Just remembering that what we bring to the table, each of us has a unique perspective, and that our education, what we're bringing, serves the entire group. So that is my takeaway. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
Suzanne.
You're muted.
Suzanne, you're still muted.
Yeah, you're still muted.
Can you hear me
There
now?
you go.
Okay. Don't ask people, what do you do? Ask them, what are you passionate about? Passionate. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Don't hang around at the bar like Randy does. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
Charles, what do you say, Charles?
Well, there are several takeaways, but the first, if you're conducting a mastermind, the key item is it should be a like-minded subject, because that's where people are going to benefit. If you've got a unique project that you're working on and it's not beneficial to the rest of the group, that's not the topic to bring to the mastermind.
Thank you. Frankie.
Well, I had never thought about, there seems to be like a no-no in doing business with Toastmasters. And I like the thought that in this club in particular, that we can, I think our question should be, tell us a little bit about your business and how can we support you? That way we know what your needs are or what you serve and if we can do business with each other. So I thought that was really a good point to to reframe how we're running our meetings. And that doesn't have to be just the mastermind meeting. It can be at our first and third Wednesday meetings as well.
Yeah. Can you put that
Especially if
in
we
the
have,
chat box so we could make sure we ask that?
okay. And then also, especially our guests, let's connect with them on what they're doing and how we can support them.
Right.
Okay, great. Bond.
Yes, my point actually is not a takeaway, it's a question to Randy. Accountability. I mean, how to understand accountability in a mastermind session, how to assure accountability practically.
Well, practically in my mastermind, to hold people accountable, that's the reason we start off at the very first part of the meeting is talking about if somebody said they were going to do X, we ask them, how did X go? So, for example, if Suzanne Ali was having challenges getting ready for a speaking engagement, and we knew that, and we gave her some ideas, and we were brainstorming, and then the next session, she shows up. We ask her point blank, how did that go? And what were your challenges? And how did you feel? And what could you be doing differently? And how can we help? So we ask the question if someone has committed to doing something or they had a business challenge, we do a rollback. We go back and start the next meeting with asking people how they're doing. And so we expect that if they took action, as we expect our members to do, because we want them to move forward, then that's holding people accountable. So we hold each other accountable right away at the beginning of each of our sessions. Now, your sessions are farther spread. We meet, like I said, twice a month, and that's the very least amount that a full mastermind should be meeting. So in your case, because you're part of Toastmasters Club and you want to do this, it's really important for you to try to circle back to if somebody said they were going to do X, then you want to start your meeting off by making sure that you're holding people accountable. Because if you spent your valuable time adding value to other people or helping them, and then they don't move forward, you won't know it and they won't know it. So what did you gain? And you're not holding each other accountable. So that's how we do it.
Since we meet every first, third, and fifth Wednesdays, we could incorporate a little session at the beginning when we're introducing for accountability from the mastermind, couldn't we?
You guys have the ability to run your club any way you want.
Exactly.
I'm kind of asking Roz, is that something we could formulate? I thought that it doesn't have to wait till the mastermind, which is only quarterly.
No, it
We can
doesn't.
do it
And I think,
every meeting.
yeah, we should do that. And with Melinda scheduling the agenda, she could show the first 10 or 15 minutes where during that time, each of us take 30 seconds to a minute to say something about our business. What are you passionate about and how can we help you?
And I don't recall any of my years of being a Toastmaster where you couldn't do business where there was something written, some rule about not doing business with each other. I don't know where that's written in the sky anywhere.
I don't know. It's just kind of a
No, it's not.
I don't think, no, that's not.
It's not. We're all private citizens.
It's
We
a shared
pay to
leadership thing. So
right.
even Randy, you could decide how the meetings are held.
Exactly.
yeah.
But you want, again, I make the meetings when I can and I support you guys, but I want to have you benefit from this small mastermind as much as you can. And I would encourage you as well, if it's not my mastermind, find a mastermind out there that you invest in yourself and you know you're going to get some value out of, because it's the consistency that really adds even greater value to it. And it's the larger masterminds, if you can get 10 people, this is okay. If you can get 10 people in a room and you're meeting regularly and it's a trusted environment, you're going to really see some differences and you're going to be able to attract other people. I just haven't marketed in mind to really be pounding it because I want people who really want it, need it, see the value, and will show up. But over time, my mastermind will grow. I'm not concerned about that. I have other things I'm doing, but it's the power of the mastermind that you got to focus on. It is a great tool if it's run to where, and I'll say this again, if you learn how to master the mastermind, and you can be a member of more than one mastermind, it would probably pay you to be a member of a couple masterminds rather than pay ten or $15,000 to take some program that you're not going to get anything out of, or you're going to come up short on. And I'm not saying all programs are like that. I'm saying you have to be. I've been doing this for 9 years now. You have to be very, very careful and invest wisely in yourself, but you have to invest.
That's a good theme. Invest wisely. How about that, Charles?
Good.
When you put the word out, invest wisely for renewing dues starting in February, March.
Investment.
Yep.
Okay, we're getting ready. We're running out of time as far as the meeting itself. So I'm going to interject and do my journal evaluation because of time. We want to make sure we get a closing thought and make sure Georgina gets to do her timer report. And so as generally, Georgina, go ahead with timers report. Georgina.
I just timed Randy's presentation at 41:54.
Wow.
Very good. Very good. Oh, yes. Thanks, Randy. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. This meeting is eventful because it gave us a chance, each one of us, to do some self-reflection in our own lives. How are we taking value and how are we identifying how we can experience some self-growth? That's my takeaway from this setting today. Check yourself to make sure you're continually growing and that you're getting value about what you're participating in. That's what's memorable to me. And what's memorable to me is that we really need to be proactive in renewing the dues for this Zoom account. Please, you're welcome to make a donation to April on Zelle so we can renew our Zoom account. That's the number one agenda that we need to take care of as Entrepreneur Toastmasters. The second number two agenda is reimbursement for the last 2 years where we had people that invested personally in this Zoom account. They need to be reimbursed. So those are our two immediate issues that need to be resolved. I'm willing and I'm going to send April $50 to donate so we keep our Zoom account with its full time frame. So any takers, contact April and Charles. Let's get this done. We're entrepreneurs. Let's keep ourselves effective.
Hey,
all right, back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Hey, Melinda, can you put April's phone number in the chat?
Okay, April, do that.
April's gone.
Oh,
April
okay.
had to leave.
I'll put it in. Roz, can you have it?
I don't have it on me, but I'll email it to everybody.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Good.
So we can Zelle whatever donation amount we want, but we know that it will go to a good cause. And I think we should set a minimum of $10 just to get it going.
Yes. And let's do business the right way and make sure we're accountable for entrepreneur. We're the standard for business clubs. We need to be 100%. Okay, I want to make sure that Suzanne has time for her closing thought.
Okay.
Roz, did you have anything else that you want to give her that introduction?
No, I am done as Toastmaster of the Day. Thank you for the honor of doing that. And thank you, Randy, for an excellent program.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to let my computer voice do it. So give me a second.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne.
Mastering the mastermind begins with mastering yourself. It's about nurturing a mindset that embraces collaboration, trusts in the power of collective wisdom, and aligns vision with purpose. True mastery lies not in dominance, but in connection, where diverse perspectives converge to create solutions greater than any one mind could conceive. Remember, the most powerful masterminds aren't built on control, but on trust, shared growth, and the courage to think beyond limitations. As you walk this path, may you lead with humility, listen with intention, and inspire those around you to rise together. 860
I'm sorry.
5885,809. Passcode Mastermind.
Sorry, guys, I had that in there.
Awesome.
Very good.
Awesome.
Very
That's
good
awesome.
message.
Well written.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you. Thank you,
Suzanne.
Randy.
Yes.
This was awesome. Thank you, everybody. I will
Yes.
contribute too. I can, yeah, maybe I'll get with Randy and he can help me Zelle over because I don't have Zelle, but anyway, I'll contribute as well. So cool.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay, anything
Okay.
else for the good of the order? Anyone that's on your mind? Bonds, Roz, whoever, April, your thoughts?
Well, next Wednesday is First Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So we'll see you all next week.